and today we're discussing how brands can identify opportunities to be surfaced in AI search. So my name is Jane Hunt. I'm the CEO and co-founder of JBH, the digital PR and SEO agency, and I'm lucky to be joined today by Andy Holland, our SEO director, who has been living and breathing AI tools for a very long time. But I can just see that he's not here anymore. So once we've gone live and now he is no longer here. Let me just see if I can invite him back in. My presenters, my co-host. Bear with me for a moment. This bit never goes to plan. Like the last time we had a webinar, we had so many issues with getting presenters in. So apologies. And I haven't got a list of people coming up. There he is. Right. I thought I'd lost you, Andy.
No, I just had to reconnect. It wasn't loading properly. So when you press live, it was just me on my own, and it just wouldn't work. So.
Well, I thought it was me on my own. Anyway, you're back, so that is great. So yeah, I was just saying, I was just doing introductions for us both, and I was just saying that you have been living and breathing both AI tools and AI search for the last few years. So yeah, so it's a great time to be obviously talking about AI search, especially with Google's rollout of AI mode in the UK. So today I think we'll do approximately 30 minutes, obviously chatting to Andy, getting his expertise, and then we'll do a brief Q&A. So feel free to add any questions to the question box on the side, and we'll try and get through as many of those towards the end of the webinar. So just to kind of like set the context and kind of open up the conversation today, Andy, should we talk about the big picture? So how is AI-powered search changing the way consumers discover brands compared to traditional search?
Great question, Jane. Okay, so what we are now is currently in a transition period. That's it. So the first thing everybody needs to understand is you can't put AI back in the box. It is very, very good. Everyone I know is using AI. It's becoming more embedded in popular culture. And everybody realizes it can do so much work and add so much efficiency. And really, people don't truly understand how impactful it's going to be in everyday life. And we're only at the very, very bottom, or the very bottom of the bell curve adoption here. So everybody who works in marketing services and financial services and generally B2B services are using ChatGPT and AI and all the other elements. And AI search is vastly better than traditional search. Now there is a problem. So there's a fantastic book called Superintelligence, which talks all about how the AI platforms and ChatGPT and Google and the battles between them. And Google and AI don't go hand in hand very well, whereas what they are really is an AI product. But their revenue platform, which is paid ads, it competes with AI distinctly in terms of what AI does. It goes and gets you the best results on the internet, or for your needs, or for whatever your query or prompt is. The problem you have, and Google has had for years, is they've already had AI platform. They could have built what is ChatGPT years ago and released it, but it would be in direct competition with their ad platform. ChatGPT and OpenAI's rise has forced them to do something which they didn't want to do. And you can see that embedded in all the rush. There was a notice, an emergency notice by Google. All teams started to bring AI into their projects. And search really is probably one of the last ones to see AI come into it. We've had AI overviews. We've got now AI mode and so on. So we're at the very earliest of days. Now, we don't know what that final product will look like in terms of how Google's product will be the result, because we have Gemini now, we have AI mode, we have AI overviews. So there's a lot of different options. But ultimately, at some point in the future, in the very near future, they will place AI mode into search. And the reason why they're going to do that is because it actually gives better results for the user. So they can't have a search engine like ChatGPT, which is really using their search engine and Bing's at times, to be better than them at what they do. And if you study history, for those who don't know this, Google isn't actually been around for that long. And there was a website platform called Inktomi years ago. And if I've got the name right. So Inktomi was the API search behind Yahoo, and Yahoo used them. And they didn't have a front end to the platform, and they were the back end behind search. And what happened is Yahoo suddenly decided to get rid of them and instead use a 2-year-old startup called Google to power that. And in the end, Google left Yahoo because more people were searching directly for Google than they were using Yahoo's interface. And in the end, we all know how that's played out over time. So what you're talking about here is a existential, I can't even say the word, threat to Google. They've responded with their AI mode, AI overviews, AI platform, and they are going to plow through this. So, and when that happens, that's when the impact will be felt by SMEs and big and small brands across the world, because how people find them will be radically different than it is now. And that's what we're in now. You've got to understand that you have to prepare for what I call G-Day, the generative engine optimization switchover, that we all wake up one day and it's going to look just like Panda and Penguin did. And some sites are going to be hit really badly and some sites aren't, but you've got to prepare for that.
Thank you for that, Andy. I think that was really useful to kind of start the conversation. So you mentioned ChatGPT, but when people hear AI search, they often think of ChatGPT maybe first or SGE. Can you explain what's really going on behind the scenes and why this matters for brands?
Yeah, so what you are in now is in this, like I said, this transition period. And Rory Sutherland placed a very, very good article or tweet out a couple of, several months ago. And what it talked about how the user interface changed. When you change the user interface, everything else changes. And if you think about taxis, dating, and all the rest of those modern things, and even Airbnb, what happened is the user interface changed. So Uber, a great example of taxis, and there's Go Grab in other countries and things like that, and Gojek, I think it is in Indonesia. And what they did is create a different interface to how you find a taxi. And the interface was changed. And that's what's changing here with search. So the interface is what you're going to choose. Now, at this moment, everyone goes to Google. They've got huge market share. Everyone knows how to go to Google, even though the results are often terrible these days. And that's a Google problem as well, and as well as an information problem. Everyone's going to use different interfaces. And the battle is the interface that win. And if you think about how OpenAI has grown, they've grown massively well just off publicity. You know, they've gone into public culture. And I read an interesting article today from that ChatGPT is OpenAI is spending a fortune on advertising in India. And because the usage of AI in India is vastly bigger, I believe, than the US. And almost half of all under 24-year-olds are using it. And that's like shows you what's happening here in the change of culture. And my children use ChatGPT. They talk about it. They use it. Everyone knows it's in the media. It's becoming more and more well known. So the fight really is for the user interface that you go to first. And do you open Google, or do you open Gemini, or do you open Claude on your phone, or do you open ChatGPT? Now, I use ChatGPT on because we've got a works account. I use it all the time for things in my personal life. I use it for all kinds of aspects. And ChatGPT is the one I go to. Other people have chosen Claude. Other people might use Gemini. I think Gemini is really poor in comparison. And I also think AI mode doesn't work anywhere near as good as search as ChatGPT. So it is the battle for the user interface that we're seeing now, which is also an issue for Google because they've got confusing messaging about what they want you to do. And so speaking to someone the other day, and they said they don't get AI mode. They don't understand how to use it because they don't use AI in their work, and they don't have that use, and they don't get what they're supposed to do with AI mode and how it's supposed to work. And that's an interface problem from Google because everyone who goes into ChatGPT understands how it works. And if students are going in ChatGPT, that's the future generation. That's the tsunami wave that's going to hit Google at some point. Google are facing the Netflix and Blockbuster situation right now. They're fighting it, they're trying to, and they've got the huge market share. But as history has shown us, that doesn't always mean everything, and things can change. So yeah, that's the underlying thing. It's the fight for the user interface, and it's the user interface that can change. And also, I just want to say, we're only in the earliest days of this. We haven't really seen agentic AI be powerful. And if you've used agents in your life and AI, and I use ChatGPT agents, they're only going to get vastly better. They can do tons of stuff for you that you couldn't do. Well, you can go and ask it to do things, go do your shopping and things like that for you. So when that happens and agents come in, largely we won't be doing the searching anyway. It's machines that are going to do the searching, and they'll just give us the results, having filtered through them for us. And also, because the internet's getting bigger, it's a scale through a network, it's getting bigger all the time. You need these filtering mechanisms to get through everything and save you loads of time. So we're going to go through lots and lots of changes, but generative engine optimization is going to go be the core, which is what is going to be the difference here. Is you're going to move from SEO to GEO as you go through these changes, and you're going to want to be GEO focused, and that will be the main thing.
Okay, so there's a lot to take in there. So I think we'll cover agentic on another kind of webinar. But in terms of spotting opportunities, where should brands be looking to identify them and surface in AI generated responses?
Okay, so that's a really interesting question, and the best way I can describe it is, if I was to go to an agency, if I was a client and I went to an agency like JBH, my mandate would be very simple: make me famous. And that's exactly what we want. And what we have really is something called AI availability, which is increasing. And I call AI availability because I'm hijacking the Ehrenberg Bass's mental and physical availability. But AI availability is the likelihood of an AI-powered search tool recommending a business in a buying situation. It doesn't really matter that you're cited in a million citations for the blog content that you've been developing for years. All that matters is when a buyer comes into the market, they're using AI to find businesses to solve their problem that you're recommended in them. And to do that, you need fame. And then fame, you obviously want fame in the human sense, but you need fame in the AI sense. And fame in the AI sense is becoming well known to AI for what you do. And some of that is being known about it in their learning data and their training data, which they have, and they grow all the time. And they I think the last one was 2023, I think, maybe 24, but they all go through training data updates, and we don't know how that quite works. But then the other thing they're using is the internet, and they're using the internet to find brands, and they're using search strategies, LLMs are, and that's what you kind of want to be known for, and you want to be found when it goes looking for you and become known for. So there's lots of ways to be known, but really you need the concept of your business and your business's performance attributes, which is your positioning. You need to be that copied in as many places and in as many ways as possible. And to give you an analogy, if you're going to become we're a digital PR agency, and we're known for being a digital PR agency, and yes, we have SEO services. But we spent years in this space advertising ourselves as a digital PR agency. We're listed in posts that we've not even requested to be listed in. We have webinars, we do all this marketing, and we've become well known. And that's how we're getting into ChatGPT results and getting leads from AI, is because we're being returned as a potential solution for people. So you have to choose your performance attributes. You have to have your positioning very strong. You have to have that within the market, within your copy. And then you also have to become famous for that, and look at the activities you do and the places brands can be cited in related to what they do. So it is a lot of SEO tactics, but it's being very much more brand focused. So, and obviously we still deal with people and also AI. So you want to have the best bang for your buck, and digital PR is the no-brainer of the decade for brands right now, to go and have digital PR to make you as famous as possible. Obviously, budgets and tactics will depend on what that's like, but that's what you want. And you want that fame in AI and humans. And digital PR is like the way to do that, and one of the fastest ways to do that and to become known for something. But also you look at your copy, look at your positioning, and develop tactics around that.
Thanks, Andy. I think the positioning, how important that is something that I haven't heard anyone talk about in relation to kind of PR, brand mentions, etc. And it's probably a topic for another day, but we've had experience with how that positioning plays out with our clients as well, and how important that is as part of your PR, and that, you know, your positioning matches kind of on all the channels or everything you're doing, so you've got that consistency coming through.
Yeah, and it is you want to be copied. So there's a fantastic study about memes. Memes really isn't the thing that we think of memes. It's something bigger. It's a bigger concept about, and basically memes are really information that gets copied, and something becomes popular if it gets copied enough. And I'm going to go into Ibiza Final Boss territory. I don't know if you've seen that final. So Ibiza Final Boss, right, Jane? You'll love this if you go Googling it afterwards, or AI it. So Ibiza Final Boss was a man who went viral on the internet very recently.
Oh no, I have seen that. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So he had and why did he go? Because all somebody did was film him dancing. Now he's now on ads. He's now got all kinds of crazy stuff going on in his life. Someone filmed him dancing, and he's got a very unique look about him and a very unique image. And what happened was that image got copied so many times on so many platforms and spread about the internet, and memes and videos got copied. And that's fame. That's how fame was created. So, and it's no different on that digital level, even on a small granular basis about your brand. Now, there are traditional PR tactics that you can use, and that's going to become more important in terms of doing different things and bringing them into the space, that because traditional can then impact digital. And there's going to be digital only practices, which are obviously more cost effective generally because they don't require that traditional setup. And with the digital side, you want that information about your business being copied in as many people's places as possible. You want to be famous. You need to be known, and to be known, you need what you're known for to be seen as many places and digitally around as possible. Very different concept than what we're used to with traditional SEO.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of, we've been talking a lot about being known. If you think you should be known and you think you should be kind of surfaced on AI, what are some of the early warning signs that a brand might be losing visibility to competitors in AI search?
Okay, so share of search, ultimately, the biggest metrics you have really now and are going to be in the future is share of search, which is the amount of people searching for your brand compared to others in your category. And Google Trends is a great signal for that. And there are other tools like My Telescope and others that you can use for that. And Ahrefs has some tools like, and SEMrush as well. So there's ways to figure that out, and how many people are searching for you. And the reason why that matters is because people are more likely to search for brands they're interested in buying from or have purchased from. And that's correlated to about an 83% accuracy rate to future brand health growth, future marketing sales. So you always want to be searched for. You've got to be pushing that, be searched for. And also AI doesn't always give you the link. So you don't always have a clickable link. It can recommend you, so you then have to go and search for. So your brand search becomes a massive indicator, but also the clicks to your website. Because at the moment, what you're having is traffic is being squeezed if you've grown it through informational search. So a lot of the noise that's in your analytics is being squeezed down and squeezed down and squeezed down. So you don't get clicks anymore unless those clicks have meaning. And that's what I'd be looking at in terms of what your clicks are, what your share of search is. Those are indicators that things are going well or wrongly for you. And if you can compare that with other platforms. Now, Google Trends is trend data in relation to people searching on Google, and that's where there's still the vast majority of search goes for. So it's a great proxy. Just go and have a quick look at how we're doing. And if your search is going down, is it because it's a market issue? Then it's affecting everybody, or is your search traffic or interest going up because people are more interested in you as a brand because of your publicity? And we've been working with a client, I can't name him because we're NDA'd, but I know that because I did an audit for him the other day, is in the last 30 days that I was working with them, their interest has gone up. And we know that because we've got them into some massive publications, and people are searching more for them. There's been more buzz online about them. So what you end up now is with this approach where you need to be looking very closely at people searching for you. And is that going up or is that going down? And is the competitors going up or down? And that's probably a great proxy for everything in AI as well.
Perfect. Okay. So you mentioned earlier on kind of about SEO tactics and how there are some, slight differences here in terms of what you might actually do in activity. What are the biggest differences between optimizing for search engines and optimizing for generative AI, in your opinion?
Okay, so you're going from a keyword model to a consumer model. And a lot of people are doing this, it's just SEO. Well, that's like saying a bike and a car are the same things because they both take you places. So the reality is, and a good analogy we were talking about earlier, Jane, is to think of SEO as like putting your shop on a high street and a sign up saying, come into our shop. And you're putting a shop on the high street, and that's the high street is the keywords. And geo is like a city tour guide recommending your business to people because they want to send people to it and because you're the best at what you do. And that's a good analogy, because geo isn't about rankings, it's about the likelihood of being featured in a buying situation and so on. So first of all, you've got to have your positioning right, and you have to have that copyright on your brand. You have to understand what is being filtered and understand what consumers are looking for. So the best way to describe this is you have something called category entry points, and they are triggers where consumers go into buying situations. So me going to London, and we did a lot of I do a lot of restaurant analogies, so I don't know why, but me going to London and want to go to the theatre and knowing I need to book a restaurant, that's a category entry point, is the type of, and who comes to the restaurant? Theatre goers. They're in the entry point. They're looking for food before or after the theatre, and that would be an entry point, a situation, or a tourist is in London looking for a certain type of restaurant and so on. Now, for businesses, you've got wide variations. Let's say you're a car finance company. Well, do you specialize in young drivers? Well, do you have a young drivers page? Well, what about 18-year-olds? Do you specialize in helping 18-year-olds get car finance? Is that your positioning? And you can have multiple entry points because, someone who's just passed their test and so on. Now, there is going to be sometimes overlap with this regarding search. We know that there is overlap. Some sites ranking gets returned in the results and sometimes don't. So another thing is so let's have a look at SEO agencies. So a tactic a year ago of SEO agencies was to say you were an SEO agency in every single city and have a page for every single city. It was SEO agency Manchester, SEO agency Stoke, SEO agency London, SEO agency here. Well, ChatGPT might rank in search for those things because you've got, you've done your web page, you might got links, you've got a good matching page. But you won't get featured by AI because AI is going to look at where your office actually is and go and check that before it returns the results to you. So from a brand perspective, it's all about your positioning, matching the category entry points of your consumers. And a large point is you want to find better quality consumers and customers that are happy with you. And to a little degree, what you'll find is that the squeeze will be in the middle of the pack for businesses that maybe have over relied on paid search, that don't have great brand or great positioning, and are a little bit all over the place and a little bit centralized, and they're going to be altered. They'll probably they might find customers in different ways, and customers come to them in different ways they never thought of before, and it's all going to be changed. But your tactics are, you've got to dial down on that brand positioning, what we call performance attributes. And they can be location, the consumer you deal with, the type of consumer, the focus, what you do well, what your offering is. Do you offer a free consultation or a free sign up? Because there's going to be things that are different. Let's say you're looking for a solicitor based in Manchester that offers free consultations regarding employment law. Okay, well, that's actually quite a long prompt, and it's going to go either and fan out that query and go and alter it, but it's going to look at things like your reviews, like your service offering, or are you an accountant that specializes in e-commerce? Well, why don't you have that page? Now, you might rank, you might not rank. It depends, but the focus is, can you match the consumer need with a page or word-based asset at your disposal on your website? And if you are those things and you do specialize in those things, you have to prove that to the search engine, the AI search engines. You can't just say you do these things, because if it's always going to look for extra mutual information. So if every accountant suddenly puts an e-commerce accountant specialist page on their website, it's going to look for evidence that you've actually done it, like reviews and consumer reviews and other information to recommending you. So it's never going to stop. This isn't. We're always going to need more mutual information. And that's different formats. So those are like just some of the tactics that you can bring from a point of view. It means the website, stop thinking of your website in terms of pages and the menu structure like we have done in the past. It's starting to think of your website and consumer problems. So almost like the best way to think about it is your website as a hub and spoke model. You've got the center, which is your main brand page, your home page, and then you've got the spokes that are coming off, and those spokes need to match consumer triggers to coming into buying situations and the problems that consumers have.
Okay, I think that's a really nice way of kind of ending that with the spokes that match kind of consumer needs. Perfect. So if a brand has a strong SEO foundation already, what do you think is the first step to evolving toward geo?
Well, you need to have a look at the positioning element. That's the first thing, your web copy, because for lack of a better word, the SEO industry has existed on a word count level as a gauge for quality for the last decade. And we use tools. So there are many tools out there that the SEOs use, content tools like Surfer and Phrase and so on, and ClearScope. And what they do is they were designed to look at what was already ranking, and the tactic was to skyscraper it, to basically say, okay, well, that blog post is ranking, so we need to create a better quality blog post than that, but also have all the things from all the other posts. And that's what we did. We entered into a skyscraper SEO technique world, and that's changed because we're now in an embeddings world, which basically means that the words, natural language processing and Google's tools and AI, they vectorize the words and they view the words differently. So the words matter. So we're entering now the era of copywriting again and PR. We're going full circle. So if I was to say to anyone what these eras are, it's P.T. Barnum meets Mad Men. Oh, it's P.T. Barnum meets Mad Men meets Howard Gossage meets Ogilvy. That's where we're sort of bringing back this sort of world that we sort of live in. And the copy on your website, it needs to be incredibly rich regarding the details that consumers focus on. And that's the big thing. So your copy matters more than ever. Now, that's not to say you need to hire a trained copywriter, because there's lots of quality issues in the copywriting space alone, because the industry has been very, very heavily hit, and finding a good copywriter is hard, and lots of redundancies out there, and there's lots of noise and so forth. But you need to think like an old school direct mail copywriter. It's those sort of skills that are going to really help your positioning, and look at what's missing, and look at the things that AI is going to hook onto. And those are the same things that consumers hook onto. So a really simple tactic for people is to print out a website. And I've done this before with people, and we've done it on pitches, is, print out your website and read it. And how does it read? Is it giving consumers everything they need? Is it telling them what they need? Is there things that are missing from that? And read your website like direct mail copy, like you'd read a letter. And that's one of the easiest first tactics that you can look at regarding generative engine optimization, because it's thinking about things from a consumer's point of view, not a search engine optimization point of view. And someone asked me the other day, I think it was Lily Ray, we were talking on a LinkedIn post, and asked, what were the differences? And there are a lot of similarities between SEO and GEO. There's tons of crossover. But GEO is the creation of information that goes beyond the point of diminishing returns for SEO. So there are things you would do for GEO and generative engines that there is no need to do for SEO because they offer no increased ranking benefits. And that's a good way to think about what it is. And I also say that if it doesn't add a benefit for SEO, it's probably good for GEO.
Okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it. We talked about prompts very briefly earlier, but prompt engineering feels like possibly a new skill set for PRs and marketers. How can brands use them to better understand how AI sees them?
Yeah, so prompt engineering is a strange one, really, because we had this gold rush, and everyone thought prompt engineering would be the biggest new career, and that sort of disappeared quite quickly because, everyone gets how to do a prompt that you learn through practice and you learn through picking up tips from everywhere. So the thing with prompts is it's kind of weird because we go to AI tools to solve problems, not just to search, and we're going to become good at prompting just generally. The thing is, 90% of the population, probably more, don't even know what a prompt is. They've got no idea of the concepts of a prompt. They don't get it. They don't use AI. It's not part of their daily life. But what they will do is they'll speak into their devices. And I always, watch people and they talk into ChatGPT, they talk into Google more. And that was something voice search was something we talked about for years, and it never really materialized. Yeah, it never really materialized. So prompt from a marketing and PR point of view, you've got to think about your audience and how they use prompts and how they might use prompts in buying situations, and understand that right now that market isn't educated enough around the prompt usage, and Google will eventually have to do this marketing campaign to go to AI mode to help people to get more from it and so forth. And it's what you make of it. I think prompting is a massive skill to have. I call it AI literacy, really, as well. So it's how good you are at using AI will be a key skill to how good you are as a marketer and a PR and an SEO in the future. So getting good at using AI is going to be a core skill. I think from a general point of view, from a marketing perspective, is understanding how people might prompt in your sector is very different, and every consumer will prompt differently, and that differences will change in time as people become more accustomed to using AI, and it's going to evolve at scale. But ultimately, AI is really good at finding what your core problem is and rooting down, and it will ask you follow-up questions if it's not sure. So AI is good at tweaking the information that it needs out of people as well.
Okay. Do you, and I always ask this, do you have any practical examples of how a brand could test or tweak prompts to improve how they show up in AI answers?
Yeah, it's kind of tough, really, because we're in this new marketplace, and there's loads of tools that have popped up out there and are doing things, and some which are buying consumer data, consumer usage of LLMs, or certainly they are. Some saying they are, that maybe are doing that, and then buying and then synthesizing that data across things to look at how consumers use it. So how consumers use prompts is emerging differently, and ChatGPT obviously has information about you, Gemini has information about you, and so on, and it's so almost like there's no really incognito mode there is. You can log out and ask it questions. Logging out is probably the easiest thing to do, to ask a prompt in ChatGPT to find out exactly how you appear. There are tools out there, there are monitoring tools to look at and so forth, but don't be afraid to do consumer studies as well. Go and ask consumers, get a focus group, and see how they use the industry, and give them tasks and things like that around your sector and see what they use. Go and ask people, go and get some real world data. The other thing is, in your search console, there is data starting to appear that is clearly prompt. So you can use custom regex to filter through search queries to look at longer string search queries and things that in your audience. And we've done that, and we can see prompts in there in the data that are appearing, where they're from. Are they from ChatGPT? Are they from Google AI mode? I believe they're Google AI modes or AI overviews. But obviously, we know ChatGPT is using search. So I also think that in your marketing analytics is going to be a lot of ghost data, things that, there's a lot of bots flowing around everywhere, which is why share of search and also click data, the actual clicks through to your website, become even more important in this future, where bots are traversing and actually even clicking on things. So I think it is going to get it harder, but yeah, it's a challenge out there for brands, but that's one way of doing things.
Lovely. Okay, so we've got a few more questions to get through, so I'll try and get through them all. Let's talk about content and schema briefly. So what types of content formats tend to perform best in AI generated answers?
Okay, so right, so content formats, it's different for every platform, and this again makes it even harder to do, because I know if you're, I'm gonna try and give the best answer to this, is that in war there's a tactic, and I can't remember what the tactic's called, but basically you go all in. And you go all in if you're to win a war, because there's no winning. Second place is not winning a war. You don't want to you want to lose a war. And this is a little bit like this with marketing now. We actually don't know 100% what works because AI changes every time it does things. So you go and ask AI the same thing 3 times, and it will handle the prompt 3 different ways, and it will probably bring back 3 different variations of results every single time, and that's the uniqueness. So this micromanagement of search is going to end, and you're going to be focused on doing activities. So what we do know based on the data is obviously landing page and making your content formatted well on landing pages. There's no secret, by the way. It's talking about what you do, your positioning, it's good copy, it's paragraphs. We call them chunks now, that's the in word, but in actual fact is they're paragraphs. It's no different. Good copy, great, not just good copy, but great copy for your brand and your website goes a long way. Outside of that, it's talking about what you do in your brand positioning, and if you can do that, and do that with a generosity, rather than thinking there's going to be an immediate return on every investment, then you are going to do well. So System One, the ad measurement company, measures things on fame, feeling, and fluency, because brands that are known must be good, brands that make you feel good must be good, and also brands that are easily identifiable with their brand and their logo also good. So, and that's the purpose of the advertising, to do those, to call those effects in different variations of order. So my view is content now, the focus should be being interesting to the consumers out there, and try and build that fame, one within your marketplace, and there's loads of tactics you can do that. But from a content perspective, it's creating interesting content for the people you seek to serve, or to create that wider positive feeling about your brand, and get you known and be interesting. And that's the goal really here now. So alarms will hook on things if that interesting content is related to what you do to a degree. So again, it's that hub and spoke model. If your landing pages are really good and they meet those consumer category entry points, or the creation of extra category entry points and content that matches, and then around that, so if you're a car finance company and you're specializing in car finance for 18-year-olds, that's great. And you've got a landing page that talks about that as your positioning strong. Well, what kind of content would you create around that? It would be how 18-year-olds can get car financing deals, how we helped Jamie, an 18-year-old, get his car financed, the process, and what you need to look at as an 18-year-old for finding car finance deals. And it's helping those consumers in a way that they would want to be helped, and it's using that marketing and using the other solutions out there like Google Discovery. If you're an 18-year-old looking for car finance, Google knows that, and it's going to serve up relevant content. So it's not thinking about traffic, it's not thinking about clicks, it's thinking about being genuinely helpful to the people you want to help and creating interesting, helpful content for them. Google has said that good GEO is good SEO. And that is entirely right, how Google has always wanted SEOs to do SEO. If you did SEO the way that Google has said you do SEO for years, you wouldn't be a very successful SEO, because SEO is all about creating signal noise in favor of your client. And obviously, on the darker side of that, you got the black hat SEOs who created lots of noise in unethical ways in favor of the client, and some of that didn't work, and some of that did work, and so on, and they had success, and then it gets limited, and sometimes sites get penalized because of that. That's creating large signal noise, and that's what SEO is. And it's creating signal noise, and Google doesn't want you to create signal noise. It wants to get the brands that its search engine algorithms feel are the best solutions. AI mode does that. ChatGPT does it. And so actually following Google's advice on creating helpful content and doing SEO how they said it is good GEO, but it's just not how we've been doing it as an industry at scale. So being helpful, creating content that serves your consumers, that's exactly where the game is.
Okay, that's a great answer. I love that. Let's talk about more real world examples. So can you share an example of a brand that's successfully being featured in AI search and what others can learn from them?
I can. And the brand I'm going to name is the online language learning platform Preply. Now I'm mentioning them because we've worked with them in the past, but that's not why I'm mentioning them. Why I'm mentioning them is because what they're doing is they're showing up in AI results for all the things that you would want to show up as in relation to their platform. So I did a brief check on Preply and how they're working and how they're known. And they're known as the online language platform, but also they've done very good in being focused for how to learn languages. So, and they've got content for how to learn Spanish, how to learn French, how to learn these things. And they tell people how to learn them. And clearly, how to learn the languages, they are part of a solution for how to learn the languages. So having content that matches what they actually do goes back to that helpful content. So if you're looking to how to learn French, and you click a post that tells you exactly the different options to how to learn French, and Preply, even though they wrote the content, is actually listed in there as a method for learning, not the only method, but a method for learning. That's a really helpful piece of content for somebody who wants to learn French, because you're giving them the option. You can't force people to buy from you, but you can help them to choose you an option and say why you're the best. And hopefully when they see you there, you will be featured. Now, also, the fact is that we know, because Preply has done a lot of PR and invested, it's a brand that invested heavily in PR and has done loads. And we know that copying of their statement of points of proof, which is like Preply, the online language learning platform. I mean, obviously, we know they were on BBC News at one point as that reference point. That positioning element of what they are has been copied in countless places through the use of digital PR and traditional PR, and that has been copied. That copying of their positioning is all over the web, so much so that you will see them referenced by ChatGPT without ChatGPT going to Google. They're in the training data already as a solution and a way to learning languages. And also their content, when then ChatGPT is using search and AI mode is using search, their content and AI overviews is being hooked onto in relation to their traditional how to learn such and such language content and posts. So what you're seeing there with Preply, it's almost a masterclass in how you do brand growth in your sector. And you do brand growth by investing heavily in PR and providing helpful content and interesting content for the people you seek to serve. There's no magic recipe in terms of like as a secret to this. It's just doubling down on it and doing the activity and putting your budget where it matters. And the secret lies in who you hire to do it and their ability and their efficiencies and effectiveness and the tactics they use to get brands out there and things. That's where the magic is in the people you're hiring. The actual tactics are back to traditional marketing, traditional brand marketing with an AI tilt. And Preply, for me, have done it really well.
Amazing. Okay. So I'm aware that we've gone kind of way over time, so I haven't got through all of our questions, but I think we'll finish with the question that's sat in the chat from James. So if a brand can only change one process this quarter to better integrate their marketing and AI search, what should it be? I love that question.
Well, the process right now should be, it's a really simple answer. Look at your category entry points, the problems your consumers have, and look at your brand positioning copy. That's the key. That's the first thing. But also at the same time, you want to be activating digital PR around your positioning as a brand, because the internet leaks links and authority. Sites get deleted, links get deleted, brand mentions get deleted. It's all going, and we know training data is being added into platforms in different ways and different methods. And we also know that freshness is a thing as well, by the way. So we know that some AI results, it's the freshness of how often you've altered your pages, your offers, and so forth. So realistically, if I was to say to anyone what to do now for GEO for themselves, one is you have to prepare, by the way. You need to look at what the impact is on your brand. That's the first thing. You need a GEO audit. Having somebody who understands generative engines to audit your presence online, but also the potential impact, is a must-do critical business activity right now. And if brands aren't doing it, then they are in for a shock when Google AI mode goes live. You need to plan for the eventualities, and it could go live next week for all we know. That's the reality of this situation. It's getting switched on. So having a audit and a plan and an assessment of how generative engines could affect you in the future is a no-brainer, must-do activity, and something obviously we can help with as a business. The other side of things is to look at your copy and content and your positioning. Does it match your users' problems? And then also is to activate digital PR, because activating digital PR is a no-brainer to get your business positioning copied in as many places as possible. It is pouring water into a bucket that's got holes in it and is leaking it out. So you need to keep pouring that water. And it is probably, if I was to say anything right now, is digital PR is the one investment a business can do that makes sense for SEO and GEO as an activity. Now, I know we're short on time, Jane. What I would say to people is bigger brands have an easier run with digital PR because they're already known and they're already out there. And as a result, when you get featured and things like that, they're already known and it's easy. And they get their budgets actually do, they can get more money, more bang for their buck out of the budget because they are already known. And that's just no different than brand marketing laws anyway. But smaller brands who have got less of a presence, who sit in industries, it might be harder to get that kind of brand positioning copied out there as much as possible, especially in content related to what you want to be featured in. That's a challenge and it's harder work. So, it is more challenging for digital PR companies to do that. But the investment in it is a no-brainer. It's shift your budgets into digital PR and get your brand known. There are other tactics that you can do and things like that, but that's the one that I would suggest everyone do this quarter without fail.
Lovely. Thank you, Andy. I think that's all we've got time for. So I appreciate everyone joining us today. Apologies for the technical problems that we had at the start, or maybe we didn't have them. I'm not sure what you saw and what I saw. Who knows? But yeah, thank you for joining us. I hope this was really useful and insightful. And our next webinar will be on October the 8th. And it's all about how AI search is reshaping the B2B buyer's journey. So that's going to be really interesting and quite niche. So if you're a B2B brand, come and join us for that. But I will obviously, once it's live, I'll make the registration page available to everyone. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Andy. And we will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.